Hey there, welcome back to Nancy's Homestyle Kitchen. Do you happen to have one of these old family cookbooks? This cookbook was put together by my grandma's side of the family for a family reunion many years ago. And I was flipping through it and I found a recipe for Winnie's cabbage salad. So as I'm going through, I'm like, okay, I do remember her making this from time to time as I was growing up. And I started going through the ingredients, which I was totally okay until I went, Hoya! Accent seasoning. Do you know what that is? It's MSG. And if you know Uncle Roger, you know why I just said Hoya. Anyway, I'm gonna recreate this recipe using some healthier ingredients in place of the accent and some other things. I think you'll really enjoy it, and some of you've probably had something very similar, but it's kind of like a Chinese chicken salad. But there is one ingredient in here that part of it I'm not gonna use, but the other part I am, and it is top ramen. Were you one of those kids on the playground breaking off and eating dry top ramen? I was. It's really good in a salad. So my husband didn't believe me until I made this for him, and then he was like, okay. So anyway, let's get started. Hiya! In this bowl, I have half a head of green cabbage that I have shredded really, really thin on a mandolin, or if you don't have a mandolin, you can just use a knife and cut it as thin as possible. It's cabbage season right now. A lot of the homesteaders that I follow on YouTube are all harvesting these beautiful big heads of cabbage, and it just looks so good. So that's what kind of got me to want to make this salad at this time of year. So I have 3 green onions, and I am just going to chop those. And as I move up the stalk or the top of the green onion, I'm angling my knife so I can cut these more on the bias, and I think it just gives a more pretty presentation to the salad. I have some slivered almonds that I got from Walmart. They're just in a bag and they are just blonde. So what I did is I just preheated my oven to 350, put these on a cookie sheet, and baked them for about 10 minutes till they got toasted. And then I also have some sesame seeds that were also raw, and these are kind of hard to maneuver to get off of a cookie sheet. So I just put them in a small frying pan on the stove for a couple minutes and watched it very carefully because they can burn really fast, and just shake it around till they get a nice toasty golden color. Toasting your seeds and your nuts brings a whole other depth of flavor to your dishes, and I highly recommend it. Okay, let's do the dressing. For the salad dressing, my grandma's recipe called for 2 tablespoons of sugar, a teaspoon of accent, which is the MSG, a teaspoon of salt, the flavor package from the ramen noodles, which we are not going to use that either, pepper, vinegar, and salad oil. So where she lived out on the ranch, they were wheat farmers. They didn't have kind of some of the fancier ingredients, so they used just kind of more common ingredients. But since we have access to things like toasted sesame oil and rice vinegar, we're gonna use some of that. So the first thing we need is we are going to do a tablespoon of a neutral oil. So I'm gonna use avocado oil, and then I need 2 tablespoons of sesame oil, 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar, and this is just natural rice vinegar. They make a seasoned rice vinegar. This is not the seasoned rice vinegar. 2 tablespoons of, you can either use soy sauce or these liquid aminos, and that's what I'm using is liquid aminos. And then some honey, and I think 2 tablespoons. You could use 2 tablespoons of honey or sugar. And do the honey last because the oil that was in the measuring spoon helps the honey just come right out of the measuring spoon and doesn't stick. So that's going to be a little more, but that's okay. Okay. Let's get that stirred up. I will have all of the exact measurements in the recipe listed in the description box. Oh my gosh, you can smell the toasted sesame oil in here. Oh, so good. Her recipe called for how much sesame seeds? 2 tablespoons of sesame seeds. My grandma's my girl. I absolutely love toasted sesame seeds. I love an element of crunchiness in my salad. So we're gonna add that in there. And then we're gonna add a pinch of salt. I'm not gonna do too much. That may be 1/4 teaspoon. And let's add some pepper. Because the coconut aminos and like soy sauce and stuff, that has salt in it already. So we really don't need much. And you can always add salt and pepper to your salad later if you think you want some. Okay. I don't know if you can see, but this salad dressing has really kind of thickened up the consistency, and it just coats this cabbage so nicely. So just pour it all over. I just can't imagine adding the chicken bouillon packet to the salad dressing. Like, that just doesn't seem in my mind to work. Okay, so let's give this a toss. It really smells so good. Then we're gonna go in and add all of the toasted almonds. This is where my grandma's recipe kind of stops, with the exception of crunching up the top ramen and putting it in here. But what I'm gonna do is we're gonna put this to the side because I cooked some chicken and we're gonna cut that up to put in here. So let me move these out and we'll get the chicken ready. All right, grandma's recipe did not include chicken, but I want to get some protein in the salad because this is gonna be our dinner tonight. So I have these Real Good baked chicken tenders, I guess, from Costco. You could use any chicken nuggets, or if you just have a rotisserie chicken and you want to use that, you could do that. But this was just easy, so I just threw them in the oven after I toasted the almonds. Figured I had the oven on anyway, might as well just put the chicken in there. So I'm just gonna slice this up without spilling it. Okay, give that a toss. Now, at this stage, if you want, you could drain some mandarin orange slices and put that in there. You could do that. If you don't want to use these noodles, you could use chow mein noodles from the store. You could also buy the wonton wrappers and slice those thin and fry them in a little bit of oil and put that on there. Any of those would go very, very well. But I'm just gonna do what Grandma Winnie did, and we're ditching the packet because this probably's got some MSG in it too. And we're gonna crunch up the noodles. Now, I'm not gonna put all the noodles just directly in the bowl. I'm gonna sprinkle them on top of the salad because I don't think we're gonna eat all this, and I don't want these to get soggy. So I'm just gonna crunch up the top. I don't know, if you've never had these, it's very interesting, but they're good. They're good. They're nice and crunchy. Okay, so let's plate this up. That looks so pretty. It smells even better. Just the toasted nuts and the toasted sesame oil. Make sure we get a couple more pieces of chicken on there. Oh, you know what? I have some cilantro. Hold on just a second. So that was a fail on my part. I even went to the store this morning specifically to get cilantro for this dish because I think it's gonna make it better. So I'm just gonna sprinkle some on here just for garnish. And then the rest, I'm gonna toss it in the salad. This is so good. Smell. Oh. Okay, and then I'm just gonna sprinkle a little of these little top ramen bits on the salad. And then if I was serving this, you know, to a group or for dinner right now, this I think is plenty for 4 people. If you were doing like a dinner, I would just crunch up this whole thing, dump it in there, toss it, and then plate it and serve it. But since I'm gonna let this kind of hold over, because we're not gonna be eating all of it, I'm just gonna save that for later. But here is the final dish. And it's time to give it a try. And we have to get the cabbage, mandatory on the top ramen noodles. Got some chicken. Okay, ready? Pausing and going back for the cilantro, absolutely necessary. I really think that just finishes it off. But the chicken, the toasted almonds in there, again, the toasted sesame oil really shines through. The brightness of the cilantro, a little sweetness from the honey. Okay, this is a winner of a dish. I think it's perfect for this time of year when all those cabbages are being harvested, and it's just so nice and bright. And I think we're getting into those months where we're just yearning for those comfort foods that tend to be heavy. And this is just a nice light option. So give it a try. I'm really, really grateful that my family took the time and made some of these recipe books. It's just very, very fascinating. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode on my channel. And if you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. And then I will be back next week, and I might be making another recipe from this old family recipe book. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.